Hi, this is Usha. Welcome to Rathod Science classes. Today in this lecture, we are going to discuss current affairs of 3rd September 2021. In this lecture, we are going to discuss 8 topics which are very much relevant to UPSC. So, let's get started with our discussion and let us see the list of the topics we are going to discuss in this lecture. So, first topic we are going to see is about merchandise exports. So actually this article mainly says that in month of August there is increasing of exports. But one concern which is mainly posed in this article is there is increasing of trade deficit. So we are going to discuss what is this trade deficit and what led to increase in trade deficit even though there is increasing of exports. That article will be important from economy point of view which comes under GS paper 3. And next one, it is about communal content. So actually Supreme Court has said some concern regarding communal content which mainly spread through social media platforms. So here we are going to see about how this social media plays an important role in spreading of this communal content and even what can be the steps that can be taken. So what will be the impact? So that will be important from our polity point of view which comes under GS paper 2. And next one is rights of women in mental health care. So recently one report says that rights of women in mental health care mainly we can say violated. So here there is some details regarding some highlights of that report. So we are going to discuss that. That will be important from social issues. So in social issues, if you are talking about women related issue, so first important thing that will come into mind here is health related issue. So here due to health, that is mental health, so these women they are losing or they are mainly violating some important rights of women. So that will be important, that thing we need to address here and we are going to discuss that in a very great detail. And next topic it is about turtle conservation. So why this turtle conservation is in news? Because recently one Indian biologist who got this turtle conservation award. So in this context, we need to know about what are these turtle. So what is the difference between turtle and tortoise? And we need to know about what are the steps taken by government regarding turtle conservation. And one important thing we need to think about is why we need to conserve this turtle. So what is the significance of this turtle regarding our environment and ecosystem point of view? That we are going to discuss. That is important from our environment and ecology point of view, which comes under this GS paper 3. And next it is about economic growth, like what are the steps taken by government. So that is normal thing. And here and there we come across those type of articles. That will be important from economy point of view, which comes under GS paper 3. And next one is about COVID-19 vaccine. So in yesterday's lecture we studied that there is an increase in breakthrough infections. That means after taking this vaccination also, so some people they are getting ill due to this COVID-19. So regarding this, we are going to talk about efficacy of this COVID-19 vaccines. So that will be important from health point of view, which comes under GS paper 2. And next one it is about United Nations and Taliban regarding recent resolution which mainly passed. Okay, and yesterday lecture we said about some background regarding this. Now we are going to see in detail analysis of this topic. So that will be important from our international relations, which comes under GS paper 2. And last topic we are going to talk in this lecture is about hydel projects in Himalayas. Actually this is not a new topic now we are going to discuss, but already from last 1 week or 10 days we are talking about this hydropower projects in Himalayas. So again we are going to see some new dimensions which are given here. And this article will be important from environment and ecology, which comes in again GS paper 3. So these are some important topics that we are going to discuss in this lecture. So let's get started with our discussion and let us see first topic. Title says exports rose 45% in August. So if you see this graph or infographic which is given, it mainly says that if you are comparing with 2019 and if you see in 2021, so there is increasing of exports, right? And on the same way, if you see imports also have been increased when we are comparing to August 2019 to August 2021. Okay, so this is the one important reason we can see there is a trade deficit. So actually this article will be important regarding economy, which comes under GS paper 3. So now let us try to see first context. If you see context, it mainly says that Indian merchandise exports, so Indian exports in August had touched $33.14 billion, which is a very much high. So how much high? So if you're comparing with last year, it is about 45.17% high. So India's merchandise exports in month of August touched $33.14 billion, and it is 45.17% higher than compared of last year, and about 27.5% high when we are comparing with this pre-pandemic level. Okay, when we are comparing with this pre-pandemic level, it is 27.5% higher, and if you are comparing with the last year, it is about 45.17% higher. But one cause of concern here is trade deficit had been widened, and this trade deficit, which is a 4-month high. So why there is increase in trade deficit? Because of increase in gold imports. Okay, so due to increase in gold imports, that led to widening of our trade deficit. So now let us try to see further more details which are given in this article. So if you are talking about this imports during this month had been grew by 51.47% year on year to $47 billion. Okay, so it mainly increased. So if you are comparing with 2019 imports, it is about 18% high. And due to this, the trade deficit which had been widened. Okay, so if you are comparing with this pre-COVID-19 or pre-pandemic level here, so we can see here there is increase in 0.07% of trade deficit. So in August 2020, gold imports stood at $3.7 billion. Okay, and now this year in August, that led to jump of about 82.22% of imports of yellow metal, that is gold metal. So because of this reason, now we can see there is increase or widening of trade deficit. So now let's try to see some facts. So if you see facts, what is this trade deficit? So if you're talking about trade especially, so if you're talking about trade, we know that will include imports and exports. Exports means from our country we are mainly sending our goods to other countries. So imports means from other countries we are getting goods. Right? I hope it is clear. So what is the difference between imports and exports? Exports means we are sending to other countries. Imports means we are taking from other countries. So here difference between this import and export, that is called as trade deficit. So this trade deficit, that may be negative or also positive. Okay, trade deficit which is negative. Okay, trade deficit which is mainly negative, and it is the total value of goods which are imported by country that is more than the exports. So whenever import it is more than export, it is called as trade deficit, and if at all exports is more than imports, that is called as a trade surplus. So I want to explain you one example here. So if India has having trade deficit with China, and if you see China, it is having trade surplus with India, right? So trade deficit means whenever imports are more compared to of exports, this condition is called as a trade deficit. And if you see here, so whenever exports is more than imports, it is called as trade surplus. So in this trade, so whenever we are having imports more than exports, that is called as trade deficit. Exports more compared to imports, that is called as surplus. So whatever the difference between imports and exports is there, so that difference, it may be negative and also even positive. Negative means called as trade deficit and positive is called as trade surplus. So now let's try to talk about significance of this trade deficit. So what can we understand whenever there is trade deficit? So trade deficit means mainly we can say about two important things. So first one is the demand in domestic economy is not being met by domestic producers. So whatever the demand is there, whenever this demand which is not met by Indian producers. For example, in India, if I need an AC, okay, so if I need an AC, I went to market. So in market or so and so shop, I saw there are different types of ACs, okay, different companies of ACs, but none of the company which is mainly meeting my demands. Means I will be ordering some imported one, right? So whenever I am importing, means that will be increasing of imports. So whenever these domestic people, they are not satisfying the needs of people, they will go for demanding for imported one. So this is the first important thing that you can get, that is the inference from this topic. And next one is, many a time a deficit signifies a lack of competitiveness of domestic industry. So whenever there is nothing much, like there is lack of competence also, that will lead to trade deficit. So these are the two important significance of this trade deficit. So this is gist of this topic. I hope it is clear. Now let us try to see next topic. CJI, Chief Justice of India, flags communal content in the media. So this article mainly focusing on this communal content. So now let us try to see some important things which are mainly discussed in this article, and we are mainly focusing on what is important from UPSC point of view. So this article will be important from polity point of view, which comes under GS paper 2. So now let us try to see this topic in very great detail. So if you see context, it mainly says that Chief Justice of India, CJI. Who is the present CJI, Chief Justice of India? He is N.V. Ramana. So N.V. Ramana said that certain sections of media communalized everything, and whenever there is communalization, that would ultimately results in giving the country a bad name. So whenever there is increasing communalization, finally that will leads to getting a bad name to our country. So if you're talking about details, it mainly says that some media outlets, they mainly add communal content linking the spread of novel coronavirus. So what happened earlier in 2019 and starting of 2020, especially in January, what happened, there is one news that mainly spread, like, so the spread of this COVID-19 mainly related to this Tablighi Jamaat meeting which mainly held in Delhi. So in this context, CGI mainly says that the problem is everything in this country is shown with a communal angle by a section of media. So the country is going to get a bad name ultimately whenever we are mainly focusing on communal angle. So why? Because even now social media platforms, they lack accountability. So because of these reasons, there is a spread of this communal content that is seen, and that is leading to increase in violence. So if you're talking about some facts regarding role of media regarding this communal content or communal violence, so first one is fake news. So the spread of fake news mainly inciting the crowd to create law and order situation. For example, if I am using a WhatsApp, and in my WhatsApp there are many groups, okay, so for example I have 4 to 5 groups, and in each group, let us say there is 100 people are present. So whenever I am sharing any one message against any government or against anything, then what happens, rapidly it will reach more than 500, and those 500 people, they will be having their special groups, so they will be sharing in their groups, such that what happens, there is rapid spread of misinformation or fake news that is happening. And if at all, whenever any sharing of message regarding communal sensitive, then that will leads to creation, or that will leads to forming a crowds of people here, and finally that will leads to disturbance in law and order maintenance also, and that will also leads to assaultation by one community with another community. And next one is, this fake news will be very much helpful to mobilize crowd, because it is one of the fastest form of communication where huge crowds can be gathered within a short period of time. And next one is hate speeches. Hate speeches are also spread through communal media to incite violence. And this one is, if you're talking about riots, with fake information, it can also lead to riots between two religious groups or community groups. And next one is, it will be also leading to lynching. So lynching, which was highly in use in 2020, especially in Maharashtra, right? So if you're talking about lynching, the fake messages, they have been leading to lynching in northeastern parts of the country here. 2 men, they were lynched, and has created many lynching in northeastern parts of our country here. So 2 men, they mainly lynched to death after being mistaken for child lifters in Assam. So in this way, this social media platforms, they are playing an important role mainly to spread misinformation, that is also leading to lynching. Due to this lynching, that is also leading to loss of the life of people. And next one is, it will also lead to flash mob. So social media has given rise to new phenomena that is known as flash mob. Within a span of minutes, mob can be gathered. Okay, so these are some important role which is played by social media in creating some communal disharmony. So what can be the measures that can be taken? So if you are talking about measures, first one is we need to control fake news. The social media platforms, they have to filter the spread of this fake news, and here government need to give severe punishment, okay, for creating and as well spreading of fake news. And we can also focus on this proactive groups. So local police, they can become the part of social media group, for constantly they need to check and as well as they need to spread the news. They need to monitor the spreading of news. And next one is initiatives. So government need to come up with initiatives that need to go for fast check news and as well as pull down fake news. So if you're talking about till now, what are the steps that are taken by government? So first and the foremost thing here is about responsibility. So our government has issued directives to social media platforms, mainly to issue seriously and to fix responsibility of what is happening in their sites. For example, spreading of information, spreading of misinformation, etc. And next one is new features. So new features have been included in WhatsApp groups after information and broadcasting ministry, and directives like forwarding limited to just 5 groups. Okay, 5 groups only that can be forwarded to just 5 groups. And IPC and CRPC also, here there are some initiatives which mainly taken to insert some classes of IPC and as well as criminal procedure code, which mainly deals with this spreading of fake messages. And even central government has issued directives to appoint officers at district level to gather intelligence and as well as closely monitor social media contents. Okay, so these are some important government initiatives. Like first one is, it made responsibility of those platforms are responsible for spreading of information. And next one is new features like they can only forward. Okay, the forwarding, it is mainly limited to 5 groups. And even IPC and CRPC, we have come up with some important classes. Okay, and if you're talking about officials, so central government has been issued some directives to appoint officers, especially at district level, to gather intelligence and also to closely monitor social media contents. So this is the gist of this topic. I hope it is clear. Now let us try to see next topic. Title says uphold rights of women in mental health centers. So actually this article mainly talking about rights of women, especially in this mental health care centers. So how the rights of women they are violating in this mental health centers. So this is important from our polity point of view, and even this article will be important from social issues, especially from women issues. And we can talk about this topic. Actually this is important from your mains, not from prelims. So now let us try to see context. If you see context, it mainly says that Supreme Court has given the state governments and even union territories 3 months of time. So now Supreme Court gave 3 months of time to state governments and as well as union territories to take some measures to alleviate that, to resolve the violation of human rights which are mainly suffered by women institutionalized in government run mental health establishment. So in government run mental health establishments, so women are mainly facing violation of their human rights. Mainly to come out of this, so 3 months of time which is given by Supreme Court for state governments and as well as union territories. So this is context. And if you see some details, it mainly says that research mainly conducted by NIMHANS NIMHANS in 2016, and even recent study which conducted by National Commission of the Women, which mainly said that yes, there are some deprivation suffered by hundreds of mentally ill women in institutional care. So in institutional care, especially mentally ill women, they are facing some deprivations, they are facing some violations of human rights. So finally the research mainly says about plight of women indicates there is a gross violation of Mental Health Care Act and another laws. So actually to protect the mental health, okay, especially for women, so we are having important act, that is Mental Health Care Act. So this research mainly found that there is violation of this Mental Health Care Act. So even one important thing which mainly highlighted here is, so these women who are mainly institutionalized in this government aided and the government institutions, okay, government mental health care institutions, they do not enjoy basic rights. So these basic rights are guaranteed by constitution like dignity, privacy, etc. They are not enjoyed by these women. So if we're talking about some highlights of this report, it mainly says that the women, okay, women who are mainly mentally ill and as mentally ill and or in mental hospitals or mental institutions, they are also denied with sanitary napkins. So this is the first important thing. And next one is mother, they are not allowed to keep their children, and there is no separate mother-child wards in many of government-run institutions. So because of all these things, now these human rights of women, it is mainly violated or discriminated. Okay, and now let us try to talk about some facts regarding mental health. So what is the meaning of mental health? So according to World Health Organization, it mainly says that mental health, it is a state of well-being in which individual realizes his or her own abilities. They can cope the normal stresses of life. They can work productively and also fruitfully, and it is very much important to make a contribution for his or her life community. So mental health means it is a state of well-being. So this state of well-being, it is very important such that individual can realizes their own capabilities and they can cope with normal stresses in their life, and they can work productively and as well as fruitfully. So like physical health, okay, so like the health which is appearing outside, so even mental health, it is also very important at every stage of life, from childhood to adult, adolescent, and even through our adulthood, to make informed decisions. Okay, so these are some important facts. And now let us try to talk about what are the steps which are taken by government regarding this mental health. So government came up with this National Mental Health Program, that is NMHP, National Mental Health Program. And this program mainly addresses the huge burden of mental disorders and shortage of qualified professionals in field of mental health, and even the government has been implementing this National Mental Health Program since 1982 onwards. And one more act which mainly deals with this mental health in India, that is Mental Health Care Act of 2017. So this act mainly guarantees every affected person access to mental health care and treatment from services run or funded by the government. So it mainly guarantees every affected person access to mental health care and treatment from the services run or funded by the government. So under this Mental Health Care Act, so it mainly guarantees affected person to access to this mental health care and treatment from services. Okay, and next one is, it has been significantly reduced the scope of use of section 309 IPC to make attempt to commit suicide. Okay, attempt to commit suicide, which is punishable only, it is an exception here under this mental health care. So these are some important things that you need to remember. Now let us try to see next topic. Title says Indian biologist wins global award for turtle conservation. So this article mainly talking about turtle conservation. So here if you see this image, you can see this person hold a turtle. So this person, he is a person who got award, that is Behler Turtle Conservation Award. So this article will be important regarding GS paper 3 under environment and ecology. So now let us try to see this topic in a very great detail. So if you see context, it mainly says that Indian biologist Shailendra Singh, okay, so he has been awarded Behler Turtle Conservation Award. So this person got this Behler Turtle Conservation Award. So he mainly brought up 3 critically endangered turtle conservation species back to their brink of extinction. So actually 3 turtles are mainly critically endangered. Okay, and they are mainly having the brink of extinction, but they have been conserved by this person and they are now brought to critically endangered. Okay, so because of his contribution, he mainly awarded with this Beheller Turtle Conservation Award. So if you're talking about details, it mainly says that for some species such as red-crowned rufed turtle, northern river terrapin, black soft-shell turtle, so these species are mainly saved by this person. If we're talking about some facts regarding turtles, so turtles are reptiles. They mainly belongs to order Testudines. So they are mainly characterized by a special bony or cartilaginous shell. Okay, it is having a cartilaginous shell around this. Okay, and this shell developed from their ribs and acting as a shield. And they mainly reside inside fresh water or even salt water. So here you can also see tortoise, right? So there is difference between tortoise and as well as turtles. Here tortoise, they are mainly being land dwelling, that means they can walk on land. Okay, while many of them, though they are not, all other turtle species are mainly partly aquatic. So mainly these turtles are seen aquatic, and here you can see there is a difference. So here they having like pad like things, but here if you are talking about tortoise, it is having some small finger like things. Okay, so this is a difference that you can see, and you can google the image in image, and you can see the difference between turtle and tortoise. And what is the significance? Why we need to go for conservation of these turtles? So because turtles, they play an important role. Okay, why? Because in river they will go for scavenging of dead organic material and deceased fish by controlling water pollution. So here in water, okay, inside the water, so turtle plays an important role, and they mainly scavenges dead organic material in the water and as well as deceased fish by controlling, that will help for controlling of water pollution. And they can also help mainly in maintaining healthy fish stocks in water, giving them habitat over their body. And this one is the turtle population. It is very much helpful in improving of sea grass ecosystem health, because it mainly removes sea grass biomass, and because of this it will mainly helpful mainly preventing in sediment formation. And turtles also transporters of nutrients and energy to coastal areas. So this is about the significance of turtles. So this is the role which is mainly played by turtles. For example, it will maintains water health, and it will prevents water pollution. It will helpful for maintaining of healthy fish stocks, and it will also prevent sediment formation, and it also plays an important role in transporting of nutrients and energy to coastal areas. So now let us try to talk about turtle conservation in India. There are about 5 species, okay, they are of turtles are seen in Indian waters. They include olive redleaf, green turtle, loggerhead, hawksbill, and leatherback turtles are present. So this leatherback turtles, it is highly in use because of developmental projects in Andaman and Nicobar Island, right? So I hope you will recall those, and you have to go for revision. And if you're talking about this olive redleaf, leatherback turtle, and loggerhead turtle, they are listed under vulnerable category in IUCN Red List. And hawksbill turtle, it is mainly listed as critically endangered. Green turtle listed as endangered in this IUCN Red List. And here these turtles are mainly protected in Indian Wildlife Protection Act under Schedule 1. And next one is turtles, they have been protected in India under Biodiversity Conservation as well as River Ganga Rejuvenation Program. So these are some important facts that you need to remember. And now let us try to focus on next topic. Title says government focus on infrastructure exports to propel growth. So it is according to UBS, okay, UBS Securities report. So according to this UBS security reports, it mainly says that now government is mainly focusing on infrastructure and as well as exports, mainly to come up with some growth in our economy. So this article will be important regarding GS paper 3. which mainly comes under economy. So now let us try to see this topic in a very great detail. So if you see context, it mainly says that government's push to boost capital expenditure. So capital expenditure mainly is done on infrastructure, okay, infrastructure development. So here capital expenditure mainly it is going to increase, especially regarding infrastructure projects, and it is also focusing on manufacturing and as well as exports. So here according to this UBS Securities report, it could prove to be the next set of growth drivers. Okay, now government is mainly going to expand or invest in infrastructure, manufacturing and as well as exports, and they will be the next set of growth drivers according to this UBS Securities report. So if you see some details, it mainly says that the activity indicators suggest economic activity, okay, economic activity rebounded in September quarter. So growth is expected to gain momentum, okay, growth it is expected to gain momentum between October and March on cyclical tailwinds, including a pent-up demand, largely led by contact-intensive services and more people are vaccinated. So here the growth it is expected to gain momentum, that is we can expect the growth will be increased between the months of October and as well as March, mainly because of there will be increased contact intensive services after most of the people they got vaccinated. And next one is we are also seeing some scaring caused by pandemic, which has been like we can say there is adverse impact on employment, there is increase in unemployment, and as well as income levels of workers mainly decreased here. So these are some important problems that we are facing now. So this is gist of this topic. And now let us move on to next topic. Title says breakthrough challenge. So this article mainly talking about this COVID-19 vaccine. So already the background regarding this article which is discussed in our yesterday's lecture. So now let us try to see this topic in a very great detail. So this topic it is very much important from our health point of view, which comes in the GS paper 2. So central theme mainly says that vaccine makers should move to making vaccines for Delta variants. So this article mainly focusing that yes, we have many vaccines, but now here vaccine makers they need to focus on vaccines that to be made for this Delta variant. Okay, so now let's try to see this topic in a very great detail. So if you see context, it mainly says that over 66 crore vaccines have been administered since vaccination drive that had been started in India from January. From January 2021 onwards till now, about 66 crore vaccines they have been administered. So as of now, India inoculated at least half of adult population with at least one dose, and 16% of population with 2 doses of this vaccine. But now, even though the vaccination has been having in a very much rapid pace, so there is small indiscernible rise in the number of new infection that is seen. Especially in Kerala, it is mainly contributing for a large number of cases. So Kerala which contributes the bulk of infections, also among the highest proportions of population who already taken this double vaccination. That means already after completing this vaccination, also some people they are reporting this COVID-19 infections. So this is called as breakthrough infections. So not only in India, in recent studies which mainly done by CSIR mainly found that quarter of 600 fully vaccinated healthcare workers they are reinfected. That means 1/4 of 600 people. Okay, that is approximately I can say it is 150. So 150 people of 600 healthcare workers who got already fully vaccinated. Okay, fully vaccinated, they were reinfected. And earlier studies by CMC Vellore and PGIMER Chandigarh, they also reported that between 1 to 10% of fully vaccinated healthcare workers, they have been reinfected. And next one is there is less than 5% of them, they had required hospitalization, and there is no deaths have been confirmed, such that we can see there is some effectiveness of this COVID-19 vaccination. So COVID-19 vaccination mainly decreasing mortality, and as well as it is preventing the severe sickness and as well as death. So this is about some important recent data. So if we're talking about internationally or globally, so Israel and US, in spite of high vaccination coverage, they continue to report new cases. So the prime suspects regarding these studies is mainly due to this Delta variants. Delta variants and related sublineages, they believed to form the bulk of coronavirus infections now. So if we're talking about some important details, INSACOG, India SARS coronavirus 2 consortium, genomic consortium, which mainly tracks mutations in coronavirus strains, and it said that now breakthrough infections which mainly repeated so far, they are in within the expected numbers. And if you're talking about vaccines which are mainly seen in India like Covishield and Covaxin, so efficacy which is about 70 to 90%, but the efficacy mainly lost because of new mutations. Okay, new mutations by this Delta variants. So in this context, we need to come up with an evaluation, okay, evolution. So why? Because virus, whenever they are transmitting from one person to another person, they will go for some mutations. So because of this mutations, that is leading to new variants. So because of this new variants, they are mainly avoiding antibodies. They have the capability to avoid antibodies, and because of this the efficacy of these vaccines have been decreased. So if you see about countries like India, in spite of being a major vaccine producer, even in this pre-COVID-19 era, so we have now managed to get production lines to deliver 1 crore vaccines per day. Okay, and we are having many other vaccines like mRNA vaccines, DNA based vaccines which are present across the country. But here there is no reports like, so these so and so vaccines are fighting against this new variant, that is Delta virus. So in this condition, what is the need? Need here is we need to come up with new vaccines which are mainly efficient against this Delta variant. Then that will be very helpful to fight against this COVID-19 pandemic. So this is gist of this topic. And now let us try to move on to next topic. Title says noble intentions. So this article mainly talking about United Nations and Taliban. So actually the background of this article we discussed in our yesterday's lecture. So now let us try to see detailed analysis of this topic. So this will be important from our international relations, which comes under GS paper 2. If you see central theme, it mainly says that United Nations must ensure that the Taliban uphold human rights and give up terror tactics. So here United Nations must ensure that Taliban uphold human rights and to give up terror tactics. So this is a central theme. So if you're talking about some important thing which is mainly discussed in this article, so this article mainly focusing on United Nations and Taliban, right? So if you see context, India ended its month-long presidency of United Nations Security Council. So India has been ended its month-long presidency of United Nations Security Council. So the government claimed a victory of sorts for chairing a session. So this session mainly resulted for adoption of United Nations Security Council Resolution 2593. So what is this resolution of 2593 of United Nations Security Council? So this resolution mainly condemning terrorism and as well as urgency, okay, urging this Taliban to ensure human rights in Afghanistan. So this United Nations Security Council Resolution 2593, which mainly condemning terrorism and also which is mainly urging Taliban to ensure human rights in Afghanistan, because many people, okay, many Afghanistani people, so they are mainly trying to flee away country. So even the large amount, huge number of people, they gathered in this Kabul airport, and recently we saw attack, bomb blasting in this Kabul airport that led to killing of number of people. So because of this, majorly human rights of this Afghanistani people, they have been in a compromise. So here this resolution mainly condemning terrorism in Afghanistan, and as well as it is urging Taliban to ensure human rights in Afghanistan. So we are talking about details regarding this resolution. The Taliban need to ensure safe evacuation of Afghans who are mainly wishing to leave and not allowing Afghan soil to be used as a terrorist activity. against any terrorist activity. So first important thing which mainly talked in this resolution is we need to ensure, Taliban, they need to ensure safe evacuations of this Afghanistans who want to come out of their country, and they should not allow Afghanistan soil to be used for terrorist activities. So these are the two important points. And next one is, this resolution also talked about importance of upholding rights of people, and also this resolution mainly pushing for inclusive negotiated political settlement for government, and even it is mainly condemning acts of terror including the recent attack on Kabul airport, and is also preventing any future attack and combating of presence of United Nations designated entities. And there is also severe opposition that is seen from Russia and as well as China. Okay, and later on they decided to abstain from this resolution. So here in this P5 countries we are seeing there is a divide. Okay, so this is the situation we are mainly seen here. So in this context, what is the need? The need here is we need to ensure no designated leader of Taliban and their associates they given recourse to funds, arms, and as well as travel permission, etc. So first one is no designated leader of Taliban and their associates they are given recourse of funds, arms, or travel permission. And next one is, here as a concerned neighbor of Afghanistan, India it is a one that could be drastically affected. Okay, because China and Pakistan they are very much friends with this Taliban, so they can use this Afghanistan soil to conduct any terrorist activities in this Jammu and Kashmir region. And there are some reports like recently 100 JEM people they joined terrorist organization which till now had been in jail, right? So many people they are released from this jail by this Taliban. So again, and in this banned terrorist organization there are about hundreds of JEM activists they mainly rejoined. So it is also one cause of concern here. And next one is a believer in United Nations led multilateral order. So India as a believer in this United Nations led multilateral order, India still has a role in Afghanistan, and we must continue to play the role on the world stage. So this is just of this topic. And now let us try to see next topic. Before saying this, I want to make a small announcement on this platform. If you want to clear UPSC 2022, we came up with one excellent, highly beneficial as well as highly economical course, that is current affairs package along with the mains answer writing practice. So how this course will be useful? So one thing you need to remember here is, before entering examination hall, you need to know at least 1.5 years current affairs for sure. And this is right time to join this course to cover this 1.5 years current affairs in a comprehensive manner. And here in this course, we are mainly focusing on your answer writing skills, how to improve your answer writing skills. So if you join this course, you are going to write more than 300 questions and more than 50 essays in this 1 year. So in this way, you will be get efficient practice regarding this mains answer. And next one is, if you join this course, we also conduct prelims test on every Sunday, and we provide you video explanation part. So finally, I want to say one thing, this course which is mainly designed as per demand of UPSC. So details of this course which is given in description box, so please visit that once. And if you want to talk to me directly, you can call to this number 8074 765513. Okay, one more thing here is, by the end of this September, so this course will be ended. So if you want to join this course, so try to join this course as soon as possible. And one more thing is, for the PDF of this lecture, you can get this PDF in our Telegram channel. So that Telegram channel link is also given in description box. You can also join that. So now let us try to see the next topic and last topic of the day, that is about a hydro onslaught the Himalayas cannot take. So this is about hydel power projects in Himalayas. So if you're talking about context, recently Environment Ministry gave an approval for 7 hydropower projects. So the reason which is given here is, already they are 50% completed, so let it be completed fully. So recently Environment Ministry in an affidavit which mainly placed in Supreme Court, which has disclosed that it permitted 7 hydroelectric power projects which are reportedly in advanced stages of construction. They need to go ahead. And if you see background, it mainly says that aftermath of this Kedarnath floods of 2013, so that killed at least 5,000 people. So after this disaster, Supreme Court halted the development of hydroelectric power projects in this Uttarakhand. And next one is, later on a 17-member expert committee mainly led by environmentalist name was Ravi Chopra was set up by ministry mainly to examine the role of 24 proposed hydroelectric projects here. And this report mainly says that, so this 23 power projects, they have an irreversible impact on ecology of this region. And out of this 23, 6 are private projects developers. So they said that they got already permission before this Kedarnath tragedy, so they are going to continue these projects. So later on, Supreme Court directed a new committee to be set up to examine the case, and this committee mainly led by Vinod Tare of IIT Kanpur. And this committee also concluded that there will be the significant environmental impact by these projects in this region. And later on, Environment Ministry in 2015, which mainly set up at another committee which mainly led up by B.P. Das. He recommended that all 6 projects with design and modifications, they can go forward. So if you are talking about challenges regarding these hydropower projects in this Himalayan region, so first one is there is impact on cleanliness of river Ganga. So for example, whenever river it is moving like this, whenever we are going for building of a dam, then what happen, and we are storing a large amount of water, that will decrease the water which is flowing in this downstream area. So because of this, water quality will be damaged. So the water ministry maintained that cleanliness of river was premised on minimum levels of water flow. So whenever there is decreasing the water level, that will lead to alteration of water quality in this river Ganga. So this is the one important challenge. And next one is climate change increases the risk of such projects. So due to this climate change and as well as increasing of global warming, that will lead to melting of glaciers and permafrost thaw. That will lead to decrease in stability of mountain slopes, and because of decrease in stability, that will lead to landslides. So that is the thing which mainly happened recently, right? And next one is, we can also see there will be the incidence of increasing a glacial lake outburst flood. For example, if we have a lake, for example, let us take this as a glacier, and this glacier we are having a lake. Okay, so water which is mainly melting, okay, whatever the which is a glacier which is melting, that water is coming up and it is mainly filling up in this so-and-so depression, and we are having moraines. Moraines will act as a natural boundaries. So whenever due to the increase of melting of this so-and-so glacier, the water will be coming in a high amount, that means that will be acting pressure on this natural boundaries. So whenever this natural boundary is detached, that will lead to glacial outburst flood. So whenever there is a glacial lake outburst flood, that will have an impact on this hydroelectric power project. And next one is the thermal profile of ice is also increasing. So that means the temperature of ice, that is mainly used to range from -6 to -20 degrees. It is now -20 degrees centigrade. Okay, so it is making it is more susceptible for melting. And next one is, moreover, the increased instances of cloudburst that is happening, that means sudden rainfall, the intense spells of rainfall, avalanches, etc., that is led to increased risk of loss of lives and as well as livelihood in this area. So if you are talking about what are the conflicts or what are the dilemmas which are present, so first one is developmental activities, whether we need to go for development or whether we need to think about environment. So if you are talking here, Uttarakhand government has said that it is paying over rupees 1000 crores annually mainly to purchase electricity, and therefore whenever they are going for building of these projects, that will be very much helpful to save their money. So this is the one thing which is mainly said. But if you are going for development of these hydropower projects, that will be having impact on environment and as well as people. So this is the dilemma. And next one is disproportionate risk borne by residents. So several environmentalists and as well as residents in those regions, they mainly saying something against regarding this proposed projects here. And next important thing here is renewable source of energy. So the center is also committed to hydropower projects because whenever we need to achieve our targets of nationally determined contributions under this Paris climate deal, we need to go for renewable projects. But in southern India, we are having peninsular rivers, but whenever we are going for building of these hydropower projects in the southern India, they are not much viable. So these are some important dilemmas we are facing, and this is just of this topic. So what is important regarding UPSC point of view, I explained here. So by this we are concluding today. I hope you enjoyed this lecture. Please subscribe to my channel and don't forget to like, share and comment my videos. And don't forget to enroll to this current affairs package. Thank you so much.